Hello, everyone. My name is Kat Oriel with Forbes Breaking News, and today I'm here with Rep. Tiffany of Wisconsin. Thanks so much for joining me today, Congressman.
I'm happy to join you.
Of course. So you sit on the House Judiciary Committee, and yesterday you heard from Robert Hur on the Special Counsel Report and the Biden classified documents probe. So what were your overall thoughts and takeaways from the very intense 5-hour hearing yesterday? What was the mood in there, and what was your take on Hur himself? How did he perform?
To sit in the hot seat like that for 5 hours takes a lot of stamina. And, I think he accomplished what he wanted to. To me, the takeaway on this is that Robert Hur did not want to have to make a decision in regards to indicting President Biden. He wants that decision to be made by the voters coming up in November, who they want to have for president, because he knows if he hands down an indictment it all breaks loose at that point, right? If he indicts. And so I just don't think he wanted to inject himself into the 2024 campaign. But I got to tell you, there is a whole lot of evidence, as we heard yesterday, that President Biden, I believe, willfully ignored our national security concerns.
Do you wish that he did indict him? And if so, what were the charges that you would have hoped would have come up?
I think he had grounds to do it. I mean, the question was raised by Representative Kiley. Could a reasonable juror indict in this case, or could they convict in this case? And Mr. Hur said yes, they could. And to me, that was probably one of the strongest statements that came out of yesterday's hearing.
One of the biggest takeaways I took from your 5 minutes of questioning was that Hur confirmed to you directly that the White House did pressure the DOJ to change the report, remove references to Biden's memory. So have you seen that letter asking him to do so? And what was your reaction to hearing that confirmed to you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate him confirming that first of all, they tried to get him to change, Mr. Hur, to change the report, to leave out the part where my colleague from Wisconsin, Representative Fitzgerald, basically referred to as senile. And but then the White House even tried to go over his head to the Attorney General. And so the White House understood how damning that statement was. But I think it was, once again, it was a case of, I think Mr. Hur knows that Joe Biden was guilty of doing this. He just did not want to go to indictment on it.
Also, in your questioning, I think that you made this very interesting tie between Biden using these materials from the classified documents to give the ghostwriter for a book in order to enrich himself, and linking that to the House Oversight Committee's work, looking into that Biden family's money grubbing, as you said yesterday. So, some people might look at that and say, well, a lot of politicians do write books and see themselves as historical figures. So can you elaborate on that line of questioning and your connection between, the House Republicans' investigations into the Biden family?
Yeah, I think your characterization is exactly what I was trying to say yesterday, that it's a pattern. I mean, you see a pattern with actually both Hunter and Joe Biden, where they conveniently cannot answer questions that are the really tough questions at the heart of corruption. And so their memory goes away. But also, it is a consistent thing that, and Hur brought this up, he said, and this was underlying really, though, the message that Mr. Hur was delivering yesterday, that President Biden views himself as this historic figure. I mean, he really has a grand view of himself. And then, so there's that. But then there's also the money that he got. I didn't realize until yesterday that Joe Biden got $8 million. So he had real incentive to put some, call it salacious or really interesting information into that book, and then to draw his ghostwriter into it. And his ghostwriter does not have a security clearance. I mean, you're violating the law at that point when you're sharing secure information to somebody that does not have the clearance.
What makes this case different than the one presented against President Donald Trump? I know they're very different cases, but you called Biden a repeat offender. Do you think that Trump is also a repeat offender? Two different cases, I know, but in that instance, President Donald Trump was also given classified documents to be returned and didn't.
Yeah, I think there's a few differences, but the major difference is that Joe Biden did this as vice president. He shared information, classified information as vice president. The vice president does not have that authority. The president has almost unlimited authority to be able to declassify documents and share those documents. And so it's a much different situation. Joe Biden was vice president. Donald Trump was president. And we treat those two positions very differently when releasing classified information.
Going back to your line of questioning, you did give her pretty blunt criticism at the end, calling him part of the Praetorian Guard for the DC swamp. So how do you take his statements about Biden's mental competency as fact, but then think his refusal to charge him as politically motivated?
Yeah. So I think when you look at the pattern of conduct by Joe Biden over the years, going all the way back to 2011, when his staff was telling him, and they had to tell him repeatedly, if you read the documents, you see repeatedly, they had to tell Joe Biden as vice president, you got to be careful with this information. So there's this pattern of conduct. And that's where I think Robert Hur walked up to the line and he said, I'm not going to cross the line. Where Robert Hur said, I'm going to put something in here in terms of the president's mental faculties that are going to be pretty harsh. And a lot of people are, especially on the Democrat side, are going to take exception to it. But I think that's all the farther he would go. But when you look at the pattern of conduct, I believe that it could warrant an indictment.
Yeah, going back to the Democrats were very upset. Like I said, he took a lot of hits from both sides, and Republicans and Democrats alike were frustrated with him, but for slightly different reasons, coming at it on different sides. So what was your reaction yesterday during the hearing to hear the Democrats saying, that references to the mental competency was actually just there to prop up Trump?
Yeah, they were extremely upset about what's going on. They know what a problem this is. I mean, what is it? It's like half of Democrats don't even want, they would prefer to have someone else be the Democrat nominee for president. So they know they have a real problem here. And after President Biden giving a very forceful speech last year for the State of the Union, many of them were celebrating, saying, okay, he's going to be our guy here in November. But, I think he's at such an age that he can't maintain that. And so they're deeply concerned and they're trying to run cover for him at this point. And that's what you heard, especially like from Representative Schiff and Swalwell yesterday.
So what comes next? The president and the White House say that, he's now exonerated, but Hur says not quite exonerated. So, where is the president's legal standing now regarding the classified documents case?
Yeah, I saw a clip this morning of the president's or one of the president's attorneys saying, yep, time to move on. And that's about all they can say at this point. They really don't have a justification. They don't have reasoning that they can lay out for the American people that, hey, this Mr. Hur was going in the wrong direction. Let's just move on is the message at this point. Well, we're going to move on, but we're going to end up going back to the Oversight Committee because Representative Hur, I think, added an element here that is consistent what has been coming out from the Oversight Committee, that the Biden family really values making money however they can, including from foreign entities. And I think you're going to see more information come out from Representative Comer's Oversight Committee here as we go through the coming months. I think there are many, just like we saw last year, it was like week after week, there was new allegations that were made and new information that was corroborated. I think you're going to see the same thing over the next couple months.
Is there anywhere else the House Judiciary Committee can go from here?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to consult with Representative Jordan and our committee. I'm not sure what the plans are next. But I think it was valuable, what Mr. Hur shared with us. For people watching, they probably figure it didn't make either side happy, but I think it adds to the information in regards to who Joe Biden is, especially. I thought it was so noticeable reading these documents and hearing the testimony. He has this really grand view of himself as this very important figure in the United States of America. I mean, you almost think that you're at times he's referring to himself as George Washington or Abraham Lincoln. And I think that goes to the state of his mind and who he is.
Do you think that there could be at all any political consequences if Republicans continue to probe Biden and his family, and there just continues to be nothing that comes of it, if the impeachment inquiry is not able to continue to be successful?
I think the best thing that we have done over the last year, and I give Representative Comer a lot of credit in our leadership, we have used a steady, methodical process to share information with the American public because this cannot be done without the American public knowing what is happening and them coming along also. We will not be able, I mean, we would not be able to impeach here if the American public does not agree with that. And so it's important for the American public to know what's happening. And we've been doing that in a steady, methodical fashion. And I think Mr. Hur's testimony yesterday added to the information the American people now know about Joe Biden.
And if President Trump wins again in 2024, do you think actions will continue to be taken against Biden?
I give Donald Trump a lot of credit. It was about a month ago. He said the voters are going to decide the fate of Joe Biden. I am not going to seek retribution because that word has been thrown out there in connection with former President Trump. But I thought that was a really good statement to say, you, the American people, are going to decide Joe Biden's fate in November of 2024. And perhaps that's as it should be.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, really good to join you.